Crawford. He wants to reportedly, possibly wants to get out of that top-ranked deal. Reportedly, according to Mike Coppinger of The Athletic, Terence Crawford wants to get out of that deal. And apparently, Terence Crawford, his deal with Top Rank is up in October of 2021, reportedly. So, deal being up in October 20th, 21. So, there's a chance if that deal's up, he can go on, be done with Top Rank, go over to PBC where there's great fights at 147, maybe even 154 if Crawford decides to move up. But there are some great fights at 147 for Terence Crawford, whether it's Errol Spence, whether it's Keith Thurman, whether it's Danny Garcia. I mean, there are some great fights for Terence Crawford with PBC. He belongs with PBC. He belongs with Al Heyman. It's just it's perfect. They're perfect together. And just like I said last week with Tank Davis, Tank doesn't have a lot of options at 130 and 135 with PBC. But he sure would have a lot of options over there with Top Rank. Because they got guys. They got Teofimo Lopez at 135. They got Shakur Stevenson up at 130. Burchelt, Jamel Herring. They got guys at 130, 135 for Tank. But over on the PBC side, the only guy I see is Gary Russell Jr. that kind of stands out for me. So it's the opposite with Terence Crawford. He's over at Top Rank, and there's not many guys at 147. Maybe you can wait for Josh Taylor to move up to 147. Maybe you can wait for that. I don't know. But there's not many options. So, and if Crawford, and don't get me wrong, Crawford maybe could retire now and be a Hall of Famer. But at the end of the day, if he wants to make his mark, I think he has to go to PBC. And I'm not saying he hasn't made his mark, but if he wants to truly make his mark, if he wants to be great, and I'm not saying he's great, but if he wants to be greater, he's got to come on over to PBC. Fight a Errol Spence. Fight a Danny Garcia. Fight a Keith Thurman. All those, Sean Porter as well. All those options at 147 for Terence Crawford. He's got to go to PBC. I don't think there's any way to get around it. He must go to PBC. And does Al Heyman maybe Al Heyman in Top Rank, Bob Arum, they decide, let's make this fight the same way we did with Fury and Wilder. But if you're Al Heyman, why not wait till October 2021? When the contract expires, you go over, you say, Terence, come on over, and, you keep the money in-house instead of having to share it with the ESPN. You put it on Fox pay-per-view. You put it on Showtime pay-per-view. One of the two. And those are the two outlets that PBC deals with, Fox and Showtime. So, to me, if you're Terence Crawford, you need to just continue to handle your business. Handle your business against Kell Brook tomorrow. And whoever else is out there, handle your business. Stay undefeated. It's time to go to PBC, and it's time to get those fights. And they're great fights, obviously. And we know what happens in the sport of boxing too often, where guys, we don't see the fights that we want. And when we do see it, guys are past their prime, or guys are not at their elite level, or in their prime. So it's just, we see it too often in the sport. We have an opportunity to see this guy, Terence Crawford, and hopefully Errol Spence is, and if Errol Spence is not undefeated, if he loses, there's other guys that PBC have at 147. So there's still Sean Porter, there's still Keith Thurman, there's still Danny Garcia, there's still guys out there. So it makes perfect sense. And even 154, the 154 division, 154 pounds, that division's on fire. On fire. Charlo, Hurd, Tony Harrison. Jason Rosario. I know Charlo stopped Jason Rosario, but Jason Rosario is a live guy against anybody at 154. So if Crawford eventually wants to make that travel up to 154, well, if he's with PBC, he's got fights there too. So for Terence Crawford, it's weird. Guys that are between 147 and 154 should be with PBC. Guys who are maybe 135, 130 should be with Top Rank, right? And that's the tough part about boxing. It's just all these different promotional things going on that get in the way of big-time fights. Let's get this promotional stuff out the way, and let's get some big-time fights. Let's see Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. Let's see big-time fights.